Life's a funny thing. Some of us are dealt some pretty cruddy cards, and then we're expected to just grow up. Normal. That leaves a lot of us to struggle as we navigate through life's difficult times. And if you're anything like me, you have no idea what the hell normal is. Welcome to the Wishbone Podcast with me, your host, Luke Ohana, as we discuss and share our life stories in hopes of helping each other out. So if you got 30 minutes, let's talk about it.
You're on the cliff wall, and then you're holding this boulder, and then it comes loose.
Yeah, I think it was from my hand, and it was a huge support for me to stay on that wall. It was like one of the only 3 points of contact. The other two being my feet, holding me to that wall. And otherwise, I was leaning forward, and the thing comes out, and I'm fuck, and then you
yeah, that's
getting
right.
over to me like that, and you push me back up against the wall. Yeah, you saved my life.
Oh my gosh,
so crazy.
Yeah,
so freaking crazy. Yeah.
Okay, so all of Hawaii, maybe all of Hawaii, is in this constant state of like erosion. And it doesn't matter how big the rocks are; everything's falling apart. I hated it. You couldn't rock climb here for sure, but yeah. Then I remember after we kind of pooped ourselves, we worked our way down and jumped into the trees, and then scurried down the trees.
We did jump into the trees. I love talking to you.
Because we said, screw this cliff thing, man. This is so... But we were probably 60 feet up in the air, I would say, for sure. Maybe 40, but I'm going to say... Yeah, it was really far up. Yeah, it was... I mean, we definitely would have hurt ourselves if we fell.
Oh, yeah,
and
worse. Even if it was only maybe 20 feet, the landing was a slope like this, so we would have just kept going. There would have been no stop. Yeah.
No, and I remember at one point we finally hit the dry riverbed, and we're kind of trying to find our way out because the dry riverbed's clear, but there's like all that lantana and prickly bush and super thick. You needed a goat trail to get out of there. And I remember us being like, I swear there's a cliff, like a waterfall around here somewhere. And that same, like if we hadn't stopped and fallen off that waterfall, we'd be dead because it ends up being like 1,000 to 1,200 foot drop.
I remember
seeing
looking at it from the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when we finally made it to hell and we looked back, we're like, oh my God, that's insane. Yeah, we would have just been lights out. And it was pitch black too. I remember just our headlamps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we camped, but I guess you're right. I think we ended up crawling out that night.
Because when I was cleaning the goat, as I was cleaning the goat, it was getting dark, and and I was like, man, I gotta hurry up so we can get the hell out of here.
What? Oh, you know what? I think I was confusing. We didn't camp this time either. I don't know what I'm confusing, but there was that time where I shot the goat and ended up just shooting the leg off the goat. Do you remember? Like, we were hiding in that perfect little rock, and they were coming right towards us, and we were getting soaked. And I remember like holding my anchor like this, like, it's happening, and then I just freaked out. Yeah, that was our first time, I think, coming across a big pile of goats on that trip.
Man,
on that spot.
Damn.
Yeah, that was good.
We lost quite a few goats down there.
We did.
Two,
yeah, well,
I lost
there's
two
that time
off
that
the
goat fell off the cliff. Yeah. I mean, that was hard. I mean, it's hard not to do that. And I think a lot of hunters who listen to this who are experienced would agree, like, we did everything we could. It was a good shot, but it was on the edge of a cliff, and so he took off on the edge of the cliff. Not much you can do.
Yeah, how crazy was that?
We also took a lot of
made?
goat. Yeah. I mean, eventually we made it down that canyon, right? Oh, no, we never made it down that canyon. That canyon...
No.
Bottomed out on a waterfall, but we did one above and one below that.
Yeah, because didn't we rappel down one of those? I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, it was a couple waterfalls. I think a couple cliffs further down the canyon.
Oh, okay.
Where we rappelled down. That's where we got shot at. We were just talking about this. Where I'm glad you were there because I would have returned fire like an idiot, and who knows what would happen. But we're getting shot at, and we had your son with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bunch of dummies.
We should jump into that, into your son, like into your family, I think. Because you grew up. Walk us through how you grew up real quick, because you come from a very eclectic background. Like, what the hell's a
all right.
Chamorro?
Oh, I never knew. I never knew. I just knew my dad was tomorrow, and so tomorrow man was my first password to anything because my mom was like, "Hey, you know your dad's tomorrow," and I'm like, "Cool, I've never met him before." So
Pronounced
that's
tomorrow.
awesome. Yeah, yeah. So tomorrow man was my first password. But anyways, growing up, let's see. The first memory of a dad that I ever had was Vernon Tiger White. He was a UFC fighter who my mom proposed to in a mall. She actually has had, I don't know if she still has it, the VHS recording of her proposing to him in a mall in this like studio setting in the middle of this mall. It was kind of funny to watch. So
And
he
you grew
said
up in
yes.
Northern California.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. So Stockton, and then until
Okay.
sixth grade at least. Yeah. Um, And so he was the first person I called dad. But when I
Oh,
look back
wow.
on the memories, like, he wasn't much of a dad at all. He definitely didn't want to be around me. But I was like, I don't really remember, never really remembered stuff like that until I thought about it recently. He just,
Hmm.
you know, he just wanted to be with my mom, I guess. And but I still thought it was so cool because I would go with him to the Lions Den, Ken Shamrock's
Oh,
MMA
wow.
gym over in Sacramento, and I would hang out there with all those guys, the whole team, and I loved all those guys,
That's
and they
insane.
loved me. But then when I would get in the
I didn't know that
car
about
with,
you.
yeah, that's actually I got a scar on my forehead somewhere. Anyways, I'll tell that story later. Uh, but when I would get in the car with him on the way home, like he would just completely switch. He'd be a different person and just wouldn't really want anything to do with me. But I still called him dad because he was a fighter and he always trained really hard, and I wanted to be just like that. I needed somebody to look up to, I felt. Well, that guy ended up cheating on my mom with a chick from Brazil while he was training jiu-jitsu over there. And my mom found out because she sent a letter, a real actual love letter, like I can't wait to see you again. We're gonna like start a family, all this other stuff. And my mom was the first to open that. So maybe out of pride or something, I'm not really sure. He ended up taking all the money, left us, went somewhere, we don't
Oh,
know,
my
and then
gosh.
later became a pastor, which is ironic. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
crazy. All right.
yeah. And I was so disconnected from what was really going on that eventually, when I was like 13, I was in middle school. I had contacted him through Facebook or something and was like, "Hey, I'd really love to spend a last dinner with you because I miss you and love you and stuff." And my mom was like, "What the hell are you
Wow.
doing? Like, why would you do that?" I just feel like because it was like my last grasp at him being my dad. I just wanted a dad,
Wow.
and so she took us to the casino. He met us there with his wife. He was wearing his whole pastor get up, and he was looking at my Facebook posts and all that stuff, which I was not in the right mindset. I was just doing bad stuff, and he was like, "Hey, I'm really worried about you. You doing gang stuff? You doing all these other things?" And all in all, the dinner just didn't turn out the way that I thought it would. Obviously he had a wife. They were having a kid, and my mom wanted nothing. She was probably in the most awkward position at that table.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, we should probably just get out of here. So there's that. My mom had been with my brothers, my white boy brothers. I got three white boy brothers and four half brothers from my dad. Um, Alex, Andrew, and Austin are my white boy brothers, and I grew up with them for most of my life. They
And you guys
were,
are really close.
yeah, yeah, I love those
Yeah.
guys. They were in and out of my mom's place because their dad was with my mom for a little while there, actually about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And he was a drug addict, uh,
Hmm.
maybe. I don't know. He was always high. He was always drunk or both. And I remember coming to school most times, and he had this little like prison TV that he would put up on the dinner table, and he would watch porn on while my mom was at work.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and I so many times I would come home and he would have his feet kicked up next to his prison TV on the dinner table, hands down his pants, asleep, beers on the table. And when he wasn't doing that, he was usually fighting with my mom or mad at me for something. I mean, I wasn't the best, and around a guy like that, who the hell wants to behave? But
Sure, yeah.
So he.
And you called him dad?
No, no,
No, okay,
no.
okay.
Yeah, that guy is a piece of shit. Still a piece of shit. He doesn't even treat his own sons. Which, granted, they're older now. I think the oldest is 30, and youngest maybe 27, 26 or 27. Doesn't even treat his own sons like his kids. He went and started a new family in Texas, and he's living the life over there now. So good for him. But fuck that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I absolutely learned what not to be from these three different dudes. My own dad, who had an entire family. He had 4 kids of his own, right? I think I'm counting that right. And a wife who he constantly cheated on. Then Vernon, who stole everything from my mom, cheating on my mom. And then Alex Sr., who lived off of my mom for all that time. And somehow or another really kept her involved in the relationship where she just wanted to be really good for him, which is so weird to watch as a kid. So
Sure, yeah.
yeah, so that's the quick story, the sum it all up story of why I think the way that I think about a lot of things today.
And real
For
quick,
family,
your
at
mom,
least.
Mama Ray's, she's a freaking champ, man. She's a billiards champ, and like I've only met her a few times, but she always carries herself with the utmost respect or pride.
Yeah, she's a
I'm
nice
not
lady.
sure what the word is, but yeah,
She's been
great.
through a lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
grandma apparently was a pretty bad alcoholic, and I was just telling Felicia about this, or reminding. She had a couple kids of her own, and she ended up losing custody to them.
Your grandma did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
To
that.
not even the biological dad, who she was with another man who wasn't my mom's dad. That's what I know. Yeah, because the other guy
Wow.
divorced my grandma, and my grandma ended up losing custody to her ex-husband, because she was such a bad alcoholic and all that. So my mom went through a lot, and she was,
Yeah,
growing
yeah.
up. Obviously I wish she made different decisions when it came to her relationships, but it is what it is. She was doing her best. Yeah, I saw
Right,
that.
yeah. That's pretty nuts. Yeah. Yeah, so you definitely, I mean, you don't come from, or rather, you came from a school of hard knocks for sure. Like when I think of California, I think of just like gangbanging and like a huge disparity between rich and poor people. I'm naive, but that's kind of my thought on it,
Yeah,
especially growing up.
as a kid, like when you are growing around that kind of stuff, you don't really notice it so much, just because, like, especially if you don't got like a good father figure, you see these guys as the good guys because they have things, or they seem cool, or whatever the case may be. They seem
Mm-hmm.
like they want to take care of you one way or another, and so you don't really think of them as like gangbangers or bad people.
Mm.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, you just
Junior's
see them as
uncle.
people.
Yeah, Alex's uncle,
Yeah.
um, my brother's uncle. He was a gangbanger. He was a shot caller for some norteños over in Stockton,
Oh,
and
not. Oh, wow.
there was twice I would hear gunshots sleeping, and then he would be running in. I'd run downstairs because he would be running in. I could hear him huffing and puffing. He has AK, and he's like, "Ray, where should I put this?" Yeah,
Oh, my
and
God.
yeah, that was actually my first gun experience too. He let me shoot that AK, and I didn't know. Okay, I was a kid, but he took
Yeah, yeah.
me to the back of the house, and he was like, Brynan, go ahead and shoot the gun. I was like, really? This is awesome. So I, hopefully the bullet didn't hit nobody. Uh, allegedly I pulled the trigger and I shot over a bunch of houses in the distance. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I just thought that was like cool, and they were good people and all that. So
Yeah. When do you? I mean, not saying they're not good people, but like, when did you, in your life, did you come to the realization that they weren't exactly the type of example that you wanted to lead?
I I actually realized that when that uncle had gone to prison for him, uh, and his buddies. He ended up taking all the charges for something
Uh,
that his buddies got in trouble for. That he was there when the place got raided, and he had spent like 10 years in prison. And
oh.
then, yeah, I was writing letters to him and everything back and forth. I still thought he was the coolest guy. I wished he was my dad at one point, and
Hmm.
because he would always beat up Junior's dad, Alex Senior. Whenever Alex
Oh,
Senior
okay.
would be acting out of hand, he's put his head through a couple walls, and
Hmm.
saved my mom from killing him because she was basically felt like she was defending her life a couple of times. She had knives in her hand, ready to get Alex. But so I wished he was my dad at one
Golly.
point, and that's why I kept a strong connection with him, or tried to. And so when he got out of prison finally, I was looking forward to it. And I was so excited to see him. And then when I see him, he's wearing all the same stuff. He's hanging out with all the same guys. He's doing all the same things. And as an older kid, I realized like this guy is doing everything still, even though he has kids, he has a girlfriend, whatever, and doesn't matter what they're like, but he he is sacrificing all of that again to do the same things with his friends who got him in that situation in the first place. So
Hmm.
that's the point where I realized like this isn't really what I thought it was. He's not who I thought he was. He's stupid.
Interesting. How
Yeah.
old are you, would you say?
I was a teenager, 15, 16 when I realized that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be such an impressionable age where you would actually reverse that and think, like, really dig into it. At least the way I think about it. But you kind of thought contrary to that. Why do you think? Like, what allowed you to feel that way instead of going with the flow? If that makes sense.
Because you miss somebody for so long because they did this thing. They've been taken away from you, and you're hoping that even though they were cool when they were doing that thing that got them in trouble, you're hoping that they don't do that again because you don't want to lose them. And him being somebody that
Oh,
was
I
such
see.
a big, I'll call him a protector for my mom and I when it came to senior. Like there was nights where I was scared, really, really scared because Uncle Josh wasn't sleeping the night, and my mom and senior were
Really?
having it out. Yeah, and they would fight and they'd do all
Oh,
this
wow.
screaming and yelling all night, and I'd be up in the room just wishing Uncle Josh was like, for some reason, needed to come and sleep at our place. And
Hmm.
that person gets taken away from you, and you feel like you really depend on that guy. Uh, when
Interesting.
no, he said he loved us and whatever, but when he doesn't take us into priority, which is sticking around and being there when we need them, and he's gonna go and hang out with his friends that got him taken away from us in the first place. That's when you kind of really realize like you can't help somebody that doesn't want to be helped, and you can't really depend on anybody except yourself, in the end, because everybody
Oh,
has
wow.
their own priorities and what's important to them.
Yeah, I find it interesting that even at that young age, because you've always had this kind of very independent, like very strong North compass. At least what you feel is North, you are very committed to that. And for the most part, I don't think there's been a time where you haven't been right as far as what you think is correct. So it's just interesting to see that that's even showing itself at 15 and 16. Because that's a young age, I would
I
think.
was still a dummy at 15 and 16. I'll definitely say
Yeah,
that. I
I'm
I
still a
thought
dummy
that I
now.
was
So
I thought I was so awesome and cool, and I thought I wanted to be a gangbanger and all that. I was just trying to be something I don't know. I was just trying to fit in,
yeah.
really. Yeah.
Wait, so real quick, let me fix this real quick. One second. Okay, it's gonna die on me. Okay, So we were talking about Chamorro, just so we're clear. What is a Chamorro?
Guamanian.
Chamorro.
And yeah, Guam is part of the Micronesian islands, so I am Micronesian. And
But we both choose to ignore that. I'm just kidding.
yeah, 100%. It's funny because while Felicia was visiting her sisters over in Oahu, and I stayed on Kauai to do whatever, they were at the beach, and her sisters asked her what I am. So she said, "Oh, Guamanian, this and that," and they said, "Oh, he's Micronesian." And she said, "No, he's Guamanian, and this and that." And they said, "Yeah, Guamanian is Micronesian." And she was like,
That's
"What?"
funny.
So, well, no offense to Micronesians. It's all good and fine. I don't really give a shit, but I'm just happy I'm not that short.
I will say you definitely don't look. Like, I'm not sure what you look like, but you don't look Micronesian to me. At least what we know as Micronesians here. But
yeah.
it is pretty funny. I mean, you're a handsome feller, but yeah. Anyway, okay, so you eventually come over to Kauai, and what I guess what I'm really curious about is Felicia's open about her past. So you meet this wonderful lady who has a kid already, and then what sparked that off, and what allowed you to be? Because as far as I know, you didn't have an example of a guy that just stayed, right?
Yeah. Pretty much.
So what allowed you to connect the dots and stay?
Well, what sparked it was arousal, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Mutual arousal.
Yeah.
And yeah, so she was with somebody, and how I knew that she was good enough to stay with was while she was with this somebody. She never really gave me any attention until he started, talking shit or, just doing things that you're not supposed to do with your girlfriend. So then she started kind of becoming distant with him. And then she found out that he cheated on her. And then that's when she was like, "Hey, it's time." And I was like, "All right." So I made it really clear to her. Not exactly, no, but she basically just told me,
"Dang."
Yeah, she told me, "Hey, I ended it. He cheated on me." And I knew exactly what she was telling me. So
good Felicia. Heck yeah.
Yeah, so I made it really clear to her because previous to this, I knew she had a kid, and I had vowed off all women that had kids already, all of them.
Why
just
is
because I think part of it was I just didn't want to take on the responsibility, and I didn't want to be a stepdad the way that like Vernon was, or the way that Senior was maybe supposed to have been. Who knows? I didn't want to be that guy in that kid's eyes that was like just trying to be with his mom and completely negate responsibility for the kid. You know what I mean? So
is that because you felt like you didn't want the responsibility, or you couldn't live up to that, or because why didn't you want to be that?
Because I was completely irresponsible. I didn't want to.
I gotcha. Okay.
Especially at the time, I was the biggest procrastinator. I'm completely irresponsible with my own money, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to handle the responsibility of a kid or live up to any expectations.
That's awesome. Okay.
So, I said, "Hey, I don't run a relationship." She said, "Hey, me neither," but then we got into a relationship. Her toothbrush ended up sticking in my bathroom after a couple visits, and then my mom visited, and she met Felicia and liked her so much that she asked me when I'm gonna have drawers for her clothes available so she can actually stay there. And eventually, like at that time, I was trying to be best friends with Clevia, just make sure that he was okay with me being around, because at the time, before the toothbrush, before the drawers full of clothes, and my mom, it was physical. It did feel good to have somebody that liked my presence, and she was of the opposite gender, and that's what I'm all about. But it was mostly just physical, and then eventually I realized like, she's a good one, so I should probably like I really should invest more time, more effort, and everything that I'm supposed to into this relationship, because when am I ever going to be able to find another woman like this? Like, she's
That's
great.
insane.
She really convinced me of that. The first time that she cooked for me, the first thing that she cooked for me was, I think it was watercress, her watercress soup, and it was just, oh no,
Oh
it was
man,
shoyu
yeah.
chicken. It was shoyu chicken,
Oh, okay.
and I was
Show your
like,
chicken's good too.
yeah, she made it so simple, just cup of water, cup of shoyu, and a cup of brown sugar with chicken. And I was looking at her like, that's it? That's all you're gonna do? And she goes, yeah. And so when I ate that first bite, oh my God, okay, I can't let her go. This is it. This is it. So yeah. Anyways, I eventually had to grow up, because I mean, it took me a long time to do that, but I had to grow up
That's
for
insane.
Kaivi and for Felicia.
Yeah, I do think back, like I just recently found out you were still living on island, but I found out like how you were dressing and everything when you came over to Kauai, like first time you
Yeah.
and Tyron hung out. And I was like, I didn't ever see that side of you. I mean, I saw like I saw how we first started out, but it is pretty nuts to see how you guys have made this transition from, like you put it, just a physical, nicety to, you guys are one of the most solid families I can think of. I mean, right now you guys have 4 kids, and they're amazing. I love your kids. And Kaibi calls you dad. Like, I think that's like, not only did you decide to strap up your boots, but you did it 110%. Even when things get rough, you're still in there. Like, you and I have cried about how difficult it is to raise step kids. It's
Yeah.
freaking hard. It's tough.
Yeah, it's
And you
not
do a
easy,
great
man.
job. No.
Thanks for that.
And I
Yeah.
think, oh yeah, I thank you, because the example is not what we grew up with. Like when times got hard, people dug, and
Oh,
you dug
yeah.
in, which I think is crazy.
100%. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I there wasn't, surprisingly, now that I'm thinking about it, but it wasn't one time where I was just like, no, this kid just makes me too mad, or his mom is just like, there's no way I can do this. I'm just gonna. There's not one moment of thought like that, and I'm now realizing that feels pretty good, because boy,
Yeah.
like I'm pretty. He's a teenager now, and I'm just stressed every damn day, because I want the best for him. You know what I mean? I've always
Sure.
wanted the
Yeah.
best
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
it just I'm coming to realize that it takes equal effort from both sides. I can't teach him if he doesn't want to learn anything, or if he thinks that his teacher's a stupid ass. So it's just the way that it is.
Can I ask you? Did your dad have a good connection with his dad, or is it pretty cyclical? Like he learned how to be a dad by how his dad was.
I have no idea. I've never heard anything about his side of the family.
That's insane.
Unfortunately, I
Yeah.
really want to, though, because we've since connected, and I'm very happy that I got over whatever the hell I was upset about, and we FaceTime a lot, and he loves seeing
Oh,
his
for real?
grandkids. Yeah,
Dude, I
I
had
am
no
so
idea.
over
That
the
is
rainbow
insane.
happy about it. Yeah, it's awesome.
So what makes, because my first and only experience ever with you and your dad is your wedding night, your wedding day, when you got the phone call, and it was beautiful to watch, because you were brought to tears, which is great.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
But
Yeah.
that really resonated with me. Like, man, he still has an open spot for his dad, even though, as far as I had known, you guys weren't close.
No.
But, so, what about this type of communication is making you so happy?
Just that it's not even
besides the
between
obvious.
him and I. It's more like because of me being so, I don't know, pissed. I was just pissed off that he put my mom and I in this kind of situation. It wasn't really his fault, because my mom asked for a baby from him before he left back to his wife. Because he spilled the beans. He's like, hey, I'm married. I got a wife and 4 kids. And she was upset at him, and then she was like, okay, well, I love you so much that I want a baby, so I have a piece of you to remember. And really, that's not setting us up for success, Mom, but still, he did it. And
Yeah.
and he would visit every once in a while, and as I was getting older, he would visit, and it was always just a wish, like, hope he stays. I hope he stays. I need a dad. Like, I want somebody to look up to and model myself. I need somebody to tell me that I'm being an idiot and to set my life straight. Anyways, so now that I've gotten over all of that, because I blamed him for my entire life, basically, how it ended up. I'm most happy because he has a relationship with his grandkids, and that would be pretty shitty of me to take that away. It's his grandkids, and they love grandparents, and it's great for them too. It's not just for him, it's for them. And I love watching my kids experience new things, and especially my own dad experiencing something that I've never seen him be able to experience.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So
that's insane. You know, it's funny because you and I talked about this, but I had the almost identical experience when my dad met my kids for the first time, and part of me was terrified because if he loses his cool, like, I'm gonna have to knock this guy out or try to, like, I don't know. I'm thinking worst case scenario, or just everything I have to go off as a personal experience. But then I see this guy who I know only as this jackass being this way with my kids, and my kids are like, "Oh, I love you, Grandpa Dippo," Grandpa Dippo, and it was insane. And instead of I was just thinking of what you were saying, but instead of having this reaction like, who the hell is this guy, or what's going, I was just thinking in awe, like, wow, my kids are enjoying themselves, and I'm seeing this soft side to my dad. It was really cool, really weird, and definitely new for me, but it was very, very cool to see. And I hear the boys talk about, oh, I like Grandpa Dippo. He's really nice. I was like, dang, right on, good for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty interesting. Yeah, and I wouldn't want to take that away from him by any means.
No, not at all.
So yeah, pretty interesting. Yeah, I get where you're coming from for sure on that end. It's bizarre, but I get it.
Yeah, it's one of the coolest things. And I believe that's, if you don't got a connection with your kids to their grandparents, there's absolutely something missing there, because that's just natural. Like, we went from multiple generations living in a community together to so spread out across the world where we barely really get to see each other. And I think
I agree.
Making those connections are really important for our kids.
Well, that's it, folks. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure to check out the show notes. As always, let's give them something to smile about, and we'll see you guys next week.